Fortnite Chapter 7 Season 2 has officially released. Today I'll be going over all the new items, all the new map changes, and giving you my take on the meta. I also want to talk about all the new pro drop spot changes, who is going to be landing where. I'll reveal it all for you in this video. Let's get straight into it. So overall, my feelings about the season are very positive. I do have to say I was expecting a little bit more change. They were sort of talking about it like there were going to be some radical alterations to the way the game was played. I was expecting to see a lot more broken, crazy items, but no, they seem to have continued the theme from last season, which was basic, quite rudimentary metas, quite stable, and honestly I'm a fan of that. If you've been watching for a while, you'll know that I don't mind a boring meta. I do like mythic items, but honestly when we keep things simple it does tend to work quite well. Now let's get into some of the new items. We've got the Chaos Reloader Shotgun, and this is the most powerful item that they have added this season. It does an insane amount of damage. I'll put the stats up on screen for you now. It also auto reloads whilst you're not even using it. Yes, it does only carry one bullet, but this thing is so strong. It's very similar to the Jawa Scatter Blaster. If any of you guys remember that from the Star Wars season, this is 100% going to be a meta item. I'm fully expecting it to get nerfed at some point because in the hands of top pros, this is just going to be too broken. At the end of the day, with an item that does this much damage, even if you're like running around with 100, 120 HP, you may as well be 1 HP because this thing is just going to one-shot you. It is too strong. We've also got a new assault rifle meta. We've got the Combat and the Nemesis, which works kind of like an OXR rifle from the global season. We'll see how that one plays out. In terms of mobility, that's where this season may have an issue because it is an incredibly low mobility meta. The two items we have are the Overdrive Grenades and the Skyline Deployer. Now with the Overdrive Grenades, they function very similarly to the Shockwaves, except they can't break builds, they don't feel quite as powerful, and honestly they're just not that strong. Time will tell as to whether they're worth carrying. Maybe some strategies will emerge that make them more useful, but right now they do seem pretty weak. With the Skyline Deployer, this is a much more interesting item, very unique. You can basically spawn a zipline in the sky and then you can glide or redeploy off that, so there's definitely some interesting uses for it. However, it is just simply not as strong as the wingsuit. You can't go as high with it, you can't go as far, you can't go as fast. It's just a lot weaker in basically every aspect, and that's not inherently a bad thing. It just means that we are going to have a lower mobility meta. You can't make long rotates and expect to get away with it. You are going to have to think way more about how you move in the game. It does mean that far zones will be a lot more punishing. It means teams won't be in the storm as much. So listen, there's advantages and disadvantages to a low mobility meta, but what it does mean is that we are going to see a very different style of game as to what we saw in the last few months. Now usually when we have a low mobility meta like this, you would expect for something to be added midway through the season. However, FNCS starts in under 3 weeks time, so I'm not sure that's even a possibility. I do think this is what we are going to have to play with, and honestly I don't mind it. Maybe it's not the most fun meta, maybe not every pro will enjoy it, but it is something different. It will make teams think a lot more about how they rotate, and yes, it will make mid-map incredibly strong. More on that in a minute, but I'm just excited to see how it plays out at this stage. Of course, like any low mobility meta, landing in the mid-map will be a huge advantage because you're less likely to have to make huge rotations. You're less vulnerable to far zone pulls. If you're landing right at the north of the map and the zone pulls south, then in this meta there's not a huge amount you can do. You are just going to be very scuffed throughout the game. If you're in the mid-map, you can kind of bypass that. The full loot pool is up on screen now. As you can see, the Harpoon gun is back in competitive. This is an item that I'm a really big fan of. It has so many applications, from fishing to getting loot in the end game. Very balanced, and I'm glad we do have it back. In terms of the map changes, we have one completely new POI, which is Frigid Fortress, which has replaced Corsi Lodge. The other three are just reformatted versions of old POIs. We've got Squibbly Shores, which has replaced Bumpy Bay, Dark Dominion, which has replaced Lethal Labs, and the new Sanctuary, which has replaced Classified Canyon. So listen, maybe the map isn't completely different. I mean, ultimately I really liked the Chapter 7 Season 1 map, so I don't mind that we haven't had that many changes. I know a lot of people probably were hoping for a bit more of an overhaul, but the map was great to begin with, so I don't think it matters that we haven't had a vast amount of changes. At the end of the day, we have a new snow biome, we have that nice area over at Squibbly Beach. I'm happy with it. I think it's pretty solid. The whole Squibbly Shores area does look very strong. As you can see from the clip on screen now, courtesy of TS, there are a lot of fish spawns that you can get in every single game, meaning that you will never really be below on HP. However, the issue with this POI is of course the elevation. This is something that we had with Bumpy Bay. Because it's so low down, because there are areas that are higher up around it, you can just get eliminated out of the sky before you even have a chance to hit the ground. So you can't always go for the optimal drop. Sometimes you have the high glide. But listen, overall this is looking like a pretty strong POI. I know Peterbot is planning on landing here as well. We'll have to see how it goes throughout the season. But listen, that's enough yap from me. Now let's talk about the pro teams. The first thing to note is that the first tournament of the season is tomorrow. It's an incredibly short turnaround. We do have the Eval Cup tomorrow on Friday. We then have the first divisional cup of the season on Monday, and of course FNCS starts in under 3 weeks time. So pros are going to have to get to grips with this new meta very, very quickly. So I want to start by going over all the new drop spot changes. We have Vico and Malabuka switching their spot. They are no longer landing at the mountain at the north of the map. Now this was pretty expected, because the main reason why they were landing there is because they could do the wingsuit ramp off the top mountain, and this would allow them to avoid taking a lot of damage. They could sit in storm, they could rotate late, and they used that strategy very well in the final divisional cup of the season, which they of course won. Now with wingsuits gone and the Skyline deployer not being as strong as its predecessor, this strategy is no longer viable. So Vico and Malabuka will now be landing at Dark Dominion, which means they will be contesting Swizzy and Pixie. I mean, these are two top teams going at it against each other. Whether they both stick for FNCS, whether they both will commit to that POI, I don't know. They are teams with a lot of quality that will both think they deserve an uncom POI. We'll see how the early spawn fights go. It should be very interesting. Over at Frigid Fortress, the new POI, we have Dom and Demush landing there. Now this obviously makes a lot of sense because they were landing at Clawsea Lodge before, which is of course the area of the map that has since been removed. Honestly, Frigid Fortress not looking as strong as a lot of people would have expected, would have hoped perhaps, but Dom and Demush at the moment are uncontested on the north side. The team that are landing at the south side of the area is Queasy and Murstache, and again, it doesn't seem like too many people are trying to take that spot off them. I think that makes a lot of sense. Queasy and Murstache obviously had a very tough season 1, not really placing in anything, only making one of the 6 divisional cup finals and coming 37th. So they will be hoping for a very strong start to this season, but as I've said in previous videos, we all know their quality, we know it's on the cards. In terms of other teams, we've got Cammy and Hari landing over at the Lighthouse. Now of course they were previously at Bumpy Bay. With that being removed, they did have to look for a new spot, but they haven't moved too far. They are in the same area. We have Eyedrop and Marius, the other team that landed at Bumpy Bay, staying right where they were, landing at Squibbly Shores. They are likely to be contested by Fridoxy and whoever he decides to play with. Over at the North Mountain, we have Chap and Flixie taking that drop spot. Clearly, they were tired of landing at Classified Canyon. If you don't know, the elevation at that spot is dreadful, so it was very often that they were getting eliminated out of the sky. That won't be an issue over at the mountain. However, it isn't as strong as last season, as I've already explained, so we'll see how they get on. They may be contested by Vanya and Wox. However, in the second scrim session that is currently going on right now, Vanya and Wox have moved over to Latte Landing, which is where they were last season, so it does remain to be seen where that team will be dropping. But Chap and Flixie, we do 100% know that they will be landing at the mountain. We've got the new duo of Pink and Sato landing over at New Sanctuary. Now of course, Sato landed here for nearly a whole season when it was Classified Canyon. He of course was with Mumsy, and they left after losing the off-spawn tokens against Chap and Flixie. They ended up at Painted Palms, and then they of course split after some poor performances. Now Sato is officially back at the spot. We'll have to see how he gets on with Pink. We also have another new duo. Kiro and Pix are officially sticking. They did play the final tournament of the season together, and they will be a real team. They are landing over at 4 fields. We should have Pradaj and Ankido landing there too. They did tweet about it. It seems like that's been deleted since, but it looks like both of those teams will be landing over there. Now, in terms of 2 duos that are sticking right where they were, we have Sky and Scroll staying at the north side of Battlewood, and Shark and Teeny are staying at Wonkyland, and honestly, this makes so much sense. With the short turnaround to FNCS, there is no reason to be interrupting a winning formula. They were both doing so well out of their spots. And yes, there will be changes to them. They can't sit in Storm as much now because of the low mobility meta. However, we've all seen the quality of these teams. We know that they are serious contenders to win that first FNCS. Let's see if they can kick on from last season. Chino and Pablo Wingu are also staying at their POY. They will still be landing at Sandy Strip. However, they have tweeted stating that they will be fighting anyone that lands there with them. If you watched last season's divisional cups, you'll know that there was always 2 or 3 teams landing there, as it go and iFrozy, Finchick and Cantry. There were always a couple of teams on them. Some weeks they would split, some weeks it would be a fight. It was very inconsistent. It seems like Chino and Pablo have really had enough of that. They want the whole area to themselves, and they are going to fight anyone who tries to take it from them. To run through some other teams before I get into some other news, we have Reason and Prax landing at the south side of Battlewood Boulevard. Combeck and Mixon are landing at the split between Fortress and Wonky Land. We have got Artist and Gold playing together. They're now landing at the Forest split. This means Sanya is now looking for a duo, as is Clement as well. Now look, it's still the first day of the season, so I do want to keep this video relatively brief. I'll just go over a couple of bits of other news that we've had. We now know that tournaments that last 3 hours will now be 11 games instead of 10. That is a change that makes a lot of sense, seeing as the average game time has been reduced by about 4 to 5 minutes. So this should stop duos from running out of games. I think this makes a lot of sense. I know they were trialing it with 12 games towards the end of the season. 11 feels like a nice middle ground. We also have the announcement of the FNCS prize pool. I'll throw that up on screen for you now. I don't really have any crazy takes about this. Honestly, the more money that can be given out, the better. I'm just happy with whatever we can get. The Slurp Rush map is officially back in Reload, which is great because it's been the competitive map for ages now and we haven't even been able to play it in months. So very happy that's now back. And finally, we have the announcement that a box fighting mode will be released on April the 9th. Before I end, just a couple of bits and pieces from last season that I didn't have a chance to talk about. We had the Solo Victory Cup on Monday and we had 5 players on EU win 2 games. They were Chap, Fexa, Zenex, Afexi and Kasper Rinovic. Credit to all those players. We also had the Leo 1v1 tournament. Now this was a very good cup. It had a winners and a losers bracket. It ended up being won by Snox. Big credit to him. He played Focus in the final. Focus actually won the first game, but because Focus had come from the losers bracket, he had to win again. Couldn't quite manage it in that second one, and Snox was the champion. I'm a big fan of these type of tournaments. Hopefully there are many more to come in the future. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed. I'll be doing plenty more videos about the new season in the near future. If you want to support me any further, then don't forget to use code SPUDSON in the Fortnite item shop when you're buying the new battle pass. It is greatly appreciated. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.